Yeah, I realize I'm a little bit late to talking about this show. That's because I was originally going to do an entire video about Ahsoka, but then I realized it was actually 8 episodes instead of 6. And then I went on vacation for a while. And then I wanted to make the Halloween video. And then Spider-Man, and Loki, and the Marvels. But now we're here, and I've decided that to make it more worth my time, and more worth the time if you're watching this, I will just talk about every Star Wars thing that came out in 2023. So this is a spoiler warning for these 3 items on the docket. If you don't want to know about them, you should click away. The good Star Wars that came out this year was Jedi Survivor. Unfortunately, this game came out at a very, very bad time because after playing it for about a week, Tears of the Kingdom came out and I literally forgot all about it. But a couple of weeks into watching Ahsoka, I remembered it existed and decided to pick it up and keep playing. And yeah, I actually really, really loved this game. I feel like so much of the buzz around this time was either focused on the broken PC port of the game or Tears of the Kingdom, and it kind of got lost in the shuffle. I think this is still a great game on its own merit. I'm not the most well-versed person when it comes to talking about video games because I am very bad at them, but I can still pretty confidently say that the gameplay is a lot of fun and improves a lot on what worked from Jedi Fallen Order. The new ability to choose 2 different lightsaber stances and switch between them is really, really fun and invites a lot of different variation in the combat. I personally went with both the dual wield and the cross guard stances that I use the most. I just liked having the option of like the fast dual stance or the really heavy hits of the cross guard. I thought both felt really, really satisfying. There's also some updated and improved traversal components that I thought made the game a little more fun too. It made jumping and flipping around like you have to do a lot more fun, kind of like the big set pieces that you have in an Uncharted game or something. But one of my only really major gripes is that there was a stretch of this game where I felt like all I was doing was climbing around, and that just got pretty old after a while. It would be like climb here, jump here, and then fight a couple enemies, and it just got a bit stale. I just wish some of those segments had a little more exciting stuff going on, because even the like parts of the world I was traversing weren't exactly that cool. So maybe something just like happening in the environment in the background, or just different enemy types or mini bosses, any of that would really help. I think the biggest surprise though was how much I really enjoyed the story. In Jedi Fallen Order, I did not care about the story at all. In fact, I can barely even remember what happened. I'm not really a fan of the Filoni style of writing where a cameo character pops up everywhere, like you go to the deli and Yoda's the cashier or whatever. I like that Jedi Survivor is really its own thing. These characters are pretty much created from the ground up. There are a couple things here and there, but nothing feels that egregious. And I'm not made of stone. Seeing Vader in that one part was just as fun as seeing Vader was in the first game. But not because, oh, it's Vader, but because, like, it felt like this monumentous force of nature that was coming at you. And the portrayal from Bodhi, and the fact that he was also an ex-Jedi, genuinely shook me. When you're chasing him as Cal, I did the thing. I sat bolt upright, and I was focused on getting him so hard that I wanted that dude dead. I was so in the zone. And even though I didn't really care for Seer in most of this game and the first game, playing as her was really fun, and her death was surprisingly emotional. I think the game developers made a good call with having us play as Seer right before she dies, which kind of warms us up to her even more. But I felt a lot for Cal, especially coming right after the team had a major win and you think you're finally wrapping up the game. It just really worked for me. It came out of nowhere, and I thought it was very, very enjoyable. My favorite character is far and away Merrin. I think the Night Sisters are a super cool bit of lore, and she's just very likable and cool. I loved how much you got to fight alongside her and use her like unique Night Sister powers. That was very fun. There's especially one set piece where she's just making a bunch of portals and stuff. That's really, really entertaining. But I can't lie, I think the romance between her and Cal is very cute. When they kissed, they had me kicking my feet, twirling my hair, and giggling. Cal himself is great too. His relationship with BD-1 is really endearing, and it's truly one of the only Star Wars characters who views his droid as an equal, and I think that's a nice change of pace. Cal has this very warm exterior, which is caused a lot by his relationship with BD-1. I think the commitment to making this a good story on its own, besides being attached to the Star Wars brand, is what really elevates this above other certain Star Wars things. I don't think the first half is as good as the second half, necessarily, but it's all pretty necessary to build up the emotions that you're gonna have to feel in the second part. I wish there were more planets to explore too. I got pretty bored of Koba and Jeddah after a while. So I think if you're on the fence about playing with it, you should pick it up, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. I think it's a game that truly makes you feel like Batman. I think I fucking hate this guy now. Mando Season 3 came out at the beginning of the year, back in March, and what was once one of the most exciting and fresh pieces of Star Wars content we had ever gotten was met with a resounding whiff. I know a lot of people who love Baby Yoda and have Baby Yoda merch and the stupid car sticker that says "Careful Baby Yoda" on board and like my Patronus is Baby Yoda and whatever. And even those people weren't watching Mandalorian Season 3. I personally completely forgot about it. Forgot to watch it every week. After it was done coming out, I never had the motivation to go and watch it. But once I started making this video and realizing I wanted to talk about the other Star Wars stuff, I was like, okay, if I have to, I will watch it. And oh boy! Now, I don't really like Season 2, nor did I like Boba Fett or Obi-Wan, which I forgot about until right now. So I'm not exactly a Mando diehard. I did like Season 1, I actually rewatched it recently, and I still think it's pretty okay. But my god, Season 3 is the laziest, ugliest, most boring thing that they could have done with these characters. First of all, Baby Yoda is back, which I guess you wouldn't know if you didn't watch the stupid Boba Fett spin-off where he likes a town. So the question remains, why is he back? He has nothing to do this whole season. He just kind of walks around and every once in a while has to save Din, but for the most part, he's there when the creators are like, point the camera at Baby Yoda, quick, do something funny, do the gritty. And like I said, he just kind of has to be a deus ex machina for Din every once in a while, who now can't fight his way out of a paper bag. You think the season would kind of revolve around this conflict between Din wanting to raise Baby Yoda as a real father versus going back to his religious creed, but no, they kind of just don't touch on any of that. Instead, it's about the Mandalorians trying to restore Mandalore, and Din isn't even really the main character anymore. It's now Bo, who is about as interesting as a character who is not that interesting. The reason Season 1 was interesting was the central relationship between Din and Grogu. That's why the Season 2 finale kind of works without the horrifying AI man in the middle of it. This plot doesn't work because I have no reason to be attached to Mandalore, besides the characters keep telling me how much they liked Mandalore. And even then, they kind of don't seem to like it that much. Besides Din, there isn't even a Mandalorian character that felt that likable to me. Honestly, besides him and Bo, I can't even name a single one. There's the armor lady who makes his armor, and that's all I know about her. Just as a tangent, I need to bring up that back in Season 1, it seemed like the show had a very clear direction where it was headed, with Din eventually rejecting the strict Mandalorian creed that he had grown accustomed to. The show really presents it initially that the Mandalorian creed that he's a part of is essentially a cult. We see him distance himself a lot from that, taking off his helmet and prioritizing his relationship with Grogu. But this season basically reverses all of that. There is no longer any criticism of the Mandalorians. We're basically told that Din was an asshole for ever taking his helmet off and should be ashamed. And that is the safest direction to take it in, when you don't criticize things. The prequels are very clear about the fact that while the Jedi are a cool race, they're a deeply flawed and problematic race with deep issues in their society. The Mandalorian has a perfect opportunity to do the same kind of thing, but they don't. There is an interesting idea for the season here, where Din wants to restore Mandalore and protect his people while simultaneously rejecting the more problematic parts of their society. If the season focused more on that, they could tie it to Din being separated from Grogu and using this crusade as a distraction from his own feelings about that. But nah, just smack the reset button. Back to status quo. Jack Black's here. Lizzo's here. Boring episode of politics in the New Republic that's trying to be Andor, but is not good enough to be actually Andor. It's also worth saying that Pedro Pascal sounds bored out of his mind.
You had me at battle droids.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
The fact that he was never on set really shows, because there is no charisma in his performance whatsoever. Oh, there's also no good action sequences. Everything is really forgettable. This season just made me mad. It's so dull and lazy, I hated watching it, and now I hate Baby Yoda, so thanks for that.
One is never too old to learn, Snips.
Ahsoka show was okay, I guess, I don't know. I kind of predicted that I was gonna kind of hate the show. I said before that I'm not big on Dave Filoni's cameo glupshido fest type of writing. I don't hate him as a person or anything like that, but most of his creations just deem a little too far on that side for me. I didn't bother with The Bad Batch, and I think The Clone Wars is sometimes awesome, but a deeply overrated show. Oh, hold on. Sorry, someone's knocking at my door. Safe to say, Ahsoka wasn't exactly the top of my priority list. However, I did find there to be some stuff in there that was decently enjoyable. I really liked the new characters, Baylan and Shin. I thought their relationship was interesting, and both actors were playing their role really well. I also thought there was some interesting stuff about Thrawn and the Great Mothers in here, and some of the lore there is pretty interesting. So, I didn't exactly have a bad time watching, but in my opinion, the show has two major issues. Number one, this is a sequel show to a show I did not watch. Now, if you watched Rebels, you may think that this is a bad criticism. What did you expect if you didn't bother to watch? Well, I don't know, man. You can make a spin-off show without making the original show required viewing. Think of it like this. Better Call Saul is a spin-off from Breaking Bad. If you want, you can watch Better Call Saul without ever having seen Breaking Bad. Yes, you might get more enjoyment out of it if you have seen Breaking Bad because some references and certain plot points that are related to Breaking Bad, but nothing that breaks the show. Here, you just kind of got to take everyone's word for what happened previously. Ezra went missing. Alright, I guess if you say so. Sabine is Ahsoka's apprentice. Sure, maybe. It just doesn't quite work without having seen Rebels. The other thing I don't think worked quite that well was Rosario Dawson. Unfortunately, she just felt pretty wooden and uninteresting. In the Ahsoka show, Ahsoka was the least interesting. And it's a shame because I didn't mind Rosario Dawson's portrayal of her in Mandalorian, but maybe that's a character who just works better in smaller bites, at least in live action. It doesn't help that she gets out-acted by Ariana Greenblatt, who plays the younger Ahsoka, and she's actually quite good. It makes me wonder that because the show already had such a hard-on for the Clone Wars era, why not just make this a show about a younger Ahsoka and Anakin, since that's pretty much what you want to do the whole time. The only time the show feels like it's having fun is when Anakin's on screen. Also, maybe just make this animated? I'm not trying to sound like a hater. I think the final 4 episodes of Clone Wars are peak Star Wars. I think Ahsoka is a dope character, but when she's live action, she can't do all the cool flips and twists and stuff that we're used to seeing her do. The big prosthetics make a lot of the fights feel stiff. That's kind of an unavoidable problem when you're doing this character in live action. I think this could just be animated and still be pretty high quality, and that would make it a better case for just being a sequel series to Rebels. Overall, Ahsoka is just a bit of a mixed bag. I don't hate it. It's not as bad as Obi-Wan or Boba Fett or recent Mandalorian. It's fine. It's right in the middle. It doesn't do anything for me personally. I don't need to see a season 2. I don't really need to see any of these characters ever again, but I don't hate it. It's fine. The nostalgia bait doesn't do anything for me, but honestly, it was not nearly as egregious as I was expecting from the Ahsoka Tano show. Star Wars. The franchise that we all have extremely strong opinions about, even if we don't like it that much. I can love it, I can hate it, I can think it's mid. What's interesting about the franchise is that there will be people who hold all kinds of opinions about the 3 projects I just talked about. Someone might think Mando Season 3 is peak. Ahsoka is horrible, and Jedi Survivor is just okay. But one thing we can all agree on is that this guy needs to be put in jail. So, what do you think of all this? Let me know what you think of these 3 projects, which one was your favorite, which one was your least favorite, in the comments. And if you're feeling nice, leave a like, it does help out, and we'll see you next time.